morning and welcome back to the allotment. I think I've had a 2-week break, so I haven't posted a video for 2 weeks. Doesn't mean I haven't been up here, it's just that last weekend when I would normally post a video we were away in the caravan. So a lot going on, and it's my weekend on the allotment, so today's a full day on the allotment and tomorrow we'll do something at home. But I've got all day. I'm up here before dawn. In fact, it's about dawn now, about 5:30. And I enjoy the day up here. The main reason the day up here is special is because, you know, I'm still working and working hard in the hot weather, which I'm not enjoying. I'm not complaining because it means I can work. I work outdoors. But when I get up here after work for a couple of hours every night, you know, maybe twice a week, all I'm doing is watering. Frantic watering of the squashes, the beans, you know, the sweet peas, these things that are very thirsty plants. They need water. So when I come up here, that's what I'm doing. Pardon me. I may pick a few things and take them home. We're now eating my own coleslaw, which thrills me beyond what it should. But, you know, I've got my own onions, cabbage and carrots now. So we make our coleslaw, which we love, on our salads. So the times I get up in the week, it's go, go, go. It's, you know, achieve the mission, get everything watered, quick check round the site, and back home to do something else. But the weekend, I'm up here, well, you know, it's 5:30 now, I've been here half an hour, and I'll leave when I'm ready, so, you know, later afternoon. And the day is mine. And that's a real pleasure. I can relax, I can sit down and have a cup of tea, and just observe and just watch. I watch the pond, I watch the birds move around, pinching all my fruit. I just relax up here. And I'll do a bit of weeding today. What else have I got to do today? Obviously the hoe's got to get out. Quite difficult at the moment. The ground is like concrete. But yeah, a lot of weeding to do. Lots more watering. One of our plot holders is away at the moment for 6 months with the military. So his wife is tending the plot as best she can. And I've said, you know, while he's away, I'll cut the grass once a week or once a fortnight, and there's another plot holder helping me with it, so we do it alternately. So I'll do that today, and have a look round for what needs picking. We've now got a 3rd freezer at home, so that's sort of taken the pressure off us a bit, that we're not losing anything apart from a little bit of fruit, a bit of soft fruit that the birds have taken, and I don't mind that, they've got to live. But we, you know, lots of beans now, beans, runner beans, French climbing beans, which I love. They, you know, I don't want to lose them, and they're excellent for the winter. We don't eat a lot of hot meals in the summer, so that stuff is precious for the winter. And it's lovely to take it out of the freezer and then have it with your Sunday dinner, and it's your own crops. So we're frantically doing that at the moment. Yeah, and I think that's it. So take my time, enjoy being up here, have a little wander round, and I'll do that with you. We'll have a little walk around the plot and see how it's going. But while I drink my tea, I'm going to take you back home and have a very little look, because it's only a very small back garden, but it is rather colourful at the moment. So have a look at the back garden and how empty the greenhouse is now. Funny enough, I watched a documentary on YouTube with Alan Titchmarsh talking to the Prince of Wales at his own private garden at Highgrove, and Titchmarsh said something that sort of struck a chord with me. He said, there are 2 things in your garden that are never big enough. One is a greenhouse and the other is a compost heap. And I thought that was very, very witty and typically incisive of him. And it's true. In my back garden the compost heap is about 1 metre cubed, and the greenhouse is about 6 by 6, and neither of them are big enough. But there you go, you live with what you've got. I mean, that greenhouse has enabled me to have all these crops here on 2 allotments, so it's not doing too bad, and I love using it. Anyway, enough wittering from me. I'm going to sit down and drink the tea. You can have a look at the back garden, and then we'll have a wander around here. Oh, and I will be showing you the lower plots, the A row. So there's 2 rows, A and B. We had a look at B, I think it was the last video or the one before, and we're going to have a look at the row A today. So let's get on. These are the honeymoon tomatoes. I have to say there's not many of them, but those that there are impressive specimens. Melon's not doing much, but I've got lots of peppers, and we're already eating cucumbers. So I'm fairly happy, and the seedling production line has finally ceased. Oh yeah, except for the next lot of peas. This one's called Eddie. So as the road starts to come to life on this rather overcast day, we start down my end of the plot next to the golf driving range car park. This plot belongs to Melvin. Next door to him is Maggie. Now I've started giving you names, I can remember them all. So Melvin, Maggie's plot. And then we've got Paul. Paul comes up here evenings only. Then we come to Barry and Margaret, whose plot I've shown you before, and is absolutely abundant with crops. Remarkable. They've been here about 6 months. And it really does look wonderful. Then we come to Simon. Simon's got 2 plots, and he's the chap who's away at the moment, and his wife Karen is holding the fort, so to speak. Blimmin' huge pumpkin there. Crikey, look at them. Yeah, so she's doing very well, looking after the place, doing the best she can. And he's got 2 plots side by side. And then we come to Bridget. I'm glad I'm not next door to Bridget. Bridget's got 3 plots here. And then her next door neighbour on the end is Robin. Now Bridget's plot is the exact polar opposite of mine. There are no beds as such, there's no delineation. It all blends together. And, you know, when I first started, being an ex-soldier, I like things in smart rows, like soldiers on parade. But actually, as I learn and gain knowledge and solve problems and hit challenges, I realise that the way Bridget does it is a much more natural way to grow fruits and vegetables. The flowers disguise the crops in many cases, and so the birds which sit on the telegraph wires above the plots spying their next meal, the birds are confused because they're not seeing row upon row of fruits and vegetables like they do on mine. It all blends together and is confused by colour and scent. Having said that, the exception that proves the rule is, look at these celeriac. Good grief. I have never seen a healthier, smarter, pest-free crop. It's quite remarkable. Yeah, so that's the A row, and that's the beauty of allotments, isn't it? That everybody does it differently, and there is nobody you can't learn from. Yes, row A. Now this is Terry's plot over on the B row, but I just wanted to show you something that has taught me a little lesson. I've already decided that I'm going to try and go no dig, and Terry has had this piece of ground here covered for well over a year with very thick plastic, and the ground here, he's exposed it now and put some butternut squashes in, I think. Anyway, so the soil I'm showing you there is the soil that has been underneath plastic for over a year. And it's really, I mean, you can see there are a few tiny little weeds, as you'd expect, because he's exposed the ground. But when he exposed it initially, he started to dig it. And this is the little strip that he's dug. And can you see the difference? The moment you start to dig the soil, apart from the damage you do to the delicate ecosystem within it, you expose all the weed seeds. And so now this little strip he's done is growing prolifically weeds. Whereas we had a conversation, I said, don't dig anymore, let's see what happens. So there's the delineation. The dug, the undug. The less you dig, the more harm you do to the soil and the less weeds you get. Obvious really, isn't it? So, as we approach August, let's have a look at the complete plot. So, my main crop potatoes all appear to be in good order. Who knows what's going on underneath the soil? That row of blackberries are now starting to crop, and we're having those on our breakfast and in smoothies, which is lovely. Dwarf French bean mystic is pretty much ready to start picking, and these tomatoes called Marmande, they're doing okay. Never grown outdoor tomatoes before, and I'm fairly happy. Moving now back onto the main plot. I picked these courgettes a couple of days ago, but they're too big for us, so I've left them there. I'll cut them up and put them on the compost heap. But these two plants in here are prolific. That's the way I'm going to grow courgettes in the future. Unbelievable. But I've had my morning walk around the plot, and the big news today, folks, is the Atlantic giant. Look at that, look. I can't get back far enough to show you the full extent of its growth, and it's heading out across the compost heaps. It's going to shut off my entrance soon, but deep within these leaves there is the beginnings of an Atlantic giant. It isn't a giant at the moment, but remember that moment. So I suppose I've got to cut off everything else there now. The sweet corn is trying its best to come up through the courgettes. They were the odd ones I had left over. and the bean arch is at its very best today, and actually exactly how I envisaged it. Look, there are runner beans hanging down, easy to pick. Wonderful. Sweet corn is coming on. Haven't had any cucumbers from the plants underneath them yet, but there's time. And the tassels are very architectural, very attractive. More runner beans there. So let's make our way through the arch and out into the plot. So I need to take home some potatoes today. Cheryl's requested them for our Sunday dinner. These onions are all starting to fall over, so as far as I'm concerned, I think it's time for them to come out and be dried. There's my attempt at celeriac. And then some of the 27 butternut squashes I've got. The peas, I'm going to pick the last of the peas today. Both these purple magnolia snap and the conventional garden peas. So they'll be picked. Oh, as will that calabrese. That's going in our dinner tomorrow. So I'm going to pick the last of the peas today and clear these beds. And I've got some a later pea called Eddie, growing in guttering at home. And I'm hoping we'll get a later pick. The leeks all look wonderful. There is some rust in there. I'm going to try and pick off those leaves today and limit the damage of that, because we've got some rain coming later in the week, I think. And then look at these pumpkins and butternut squash. I just don't have enough bottles to get them up above the leaves. Last year the leaves were very rancid and they had mildew and they flopped because it was such a dry, hot summer. With the watering I did, it just wasn't enough. Whereas this year I've managed to keep on top of it a bit more. And look at the growth, it could not look healthier. And there are pumpkins under there. Not as big as they are over on Simon's plot. Yeah, there's a pumpkin. In fact, there's one there. They're doing okay. It's still July, so there's no rush on that. The other arch, the runner beans are making a move after they were annihilated by the slugs. There's feathers on my plot, so I think a magpie's met his end here. And then the brassicas, and they're all doing fine. With a bit of rain coming later in the week, I'm hoping they'll pick up a bit. We've had our pickings of gooseberries and blackcurrants. More onions there to pick. The the climbing French bean cobra is cropping well now and filling the freezer. The Brussels sprouts over there, I've eased the netting out from under its pins, so the netting isn't restricting their growth now, and they're growing to their full height. And there are the tiny little Brussels sprouts forming at the leaf axils, so they seem to be doing okay. And I've put in another crop of brassicas, more of those clubroot resistant varieties. So yeah, and up here, this end, the pond, it's still very early and it's not a very sunny day, but the bees are starting to wake, and there is a very modest hum in and around the pond. So yeah, I hope that gives you an idea. The flower bed is a failure this year. I'm not very happy with it, but you know, not everything works. But yeah, I'm very happy with the way it's going. Time for another cup of tea, I think. Just before I dig up my second early potatoes, I thought I'd show you what happens when you put chicken wire around your squashes and then you're not up here every day. They perform the butternut squash version of the Great Escape and make their way out through the chicken wire, and of course once they've got a bit of length out through the chicken wire, it's really hard to put them back in. I suppose the only option I've got is either let them go across and I don't mow this grass, or accept what I've got inside the bed and chop them off. What do you think? I am undecided. Well, thanks to my signage, I can tell you that this is a row of second early potatoes, Charlotte, which we like, and they were planted on the 10th of April, and I think it's the 26th, maybe the 27th of July today. We've had a few already. It's not a prolific crop, but there's enough for us, and so far I've not seen too much slug damage, which I'm very happy about. So I think what I tend to do is dig up 2 at a time, so there's enough for a couple of meals. I'll give that a bit more. The ground is really hard and lumpy. I do envy these people on YouTube, and when you watch them dig up their soil, it's a fine tilth right the way down. You know, here it's like having bricks in your soil. But there you go. The potatoes don't seem to have mind. Yeah, I think we'll have to go for another one. They're a nice size, and like I said, I'm not seeing much in the way of slug damage. Maybe I was a little bit quick to condemn the Nemeslug, or maybe it's just that the ground is so dry the slugs aren't moving around. But whatever it is, I'm really pleased. First year I grew potatoes, I reckon 50% of them were ruined by slug damage, and here we are. I'm now picking out a reasonable crop of potatoes, and actually, I mean, I'll inspect them a bit closer soon. I haven't seen any slug damage on that. Oh, there is a brick. Oh, that's a nice one. That's got my name written on it, that one. Yeah, well, it's not going to win any awards, but I am very happy. That'll do us for our Sunday dinner, and maybe even make a little bit of potato salad for later in the week. Well, I've had a wander down onto Barry and Margaret's plot just to check to see how his Atlantic Giant's doing, and it really isn't that far behind mine. I think I must have planted or sown my seed a bit earlier. I'm not sure, but my plant really did have a head start on his. However, they are clearly prolific plants, and his is going the same way. It's off out of the bed and it's off across the plot. So I don't think he'll be far behind me. although as of yet I don't see any fruit forming, but I'm sure it won't be long. The stuff in that bed does look really nice, and the plant looks very healthy. So yes, not far behind me at all. I can't drop my game. While I'm boiling the curry kettle, which I don't think you can see, I just thought I'd mention some of the other YouTubers I watch. And in no particular order, just as I can remember them. One of the first I ever saw was Sean Cameron, who has had a bit of a scare recently with his channel being taken off YouTube and then put back on. So I'm glad to see that's worked out for him. And he was one of the first people to make a comment in one of my first videos to say welcome to the community, which was very nice of him, so thank you to Sean. Muddy Boots, Nigel, he also has been very helpful in this confusing issue of microphones, which I still don't have, and I apologise if there are ever any sound issues. I do try to speak up, but yeah, he's been very helpful, and I thoroughly enjoy his channel. He's very professional in the way he puts his videos together, and I can recommend him, as I recommend all the people I watch. I wouldn't watch him if I didn't. So yeah, Muddy Boots, Steve's Seaside Allotment channel. I thoroughly enjoy his. He's almost professional in his allotment approach. He's totally self-sustaining on the fruit and veg front, and it's almost like an industry with him. Talking of professional, I watch a lot of Charles Dowding stuff. He is professional. Lovely Greens, I believe her name is Tanya. She's on the Isle of Man. Recently featured on Gardener's World, so congratulations to her. It was a cracking little spot she had, because she makes her own beauty products, as you can tell I do. And again, she's very, very proficient in the way she puts her videos together. Who else do I watch? I've watched quite a bit of Digging for Dinner. And of course, anybody who puts a comment on, I sort of click on their little icon, and quite a few of them have got their own channels, which I've thoroughly enjoyed. Trouble with mentioning people is afterwards you forget, you realise you've forgotten somebody, and you think, oh, I should have mentioned that one. Tony C. Smith, I like a lot of his stuff. I'm sure he won't mind me saying he's not as proficient as the others. He's very similar to me in he's an enthusiastic amateur, and I'm sure he won't mind me saying that, I hope, Tony, but it's his whole attitude. He just loves life, and I just can't help laughing along with him. So yeah, I can recommend him. Who else do I watch? I'll tell you something else I watch, and it's nothing really to do with allotments, but it's called My Self-Reliance, and it's a chap, Sean James, who lives in Ontario, near Algonquin, I think, near the Algonquin National Park, that sort of area. And he's got a bit of land. He's living my dream life, if I'm honest. He's got a bit of land, and using mostly hand tools, he's built his own log cabin, and a washroom come sauna room, etc, etc. But I can thoroughly recommend that. And he's been doing it 3 or 4 years now. He's got hundreds of thousands of followers and makes a very good living out of YouTube. But I mean, I love all that living in the wild type stuff. It's my sort of dream life, I think, other than the one I'm leading now. And he's now got to the point where he's starting to grow his own crops. It's not, it's not a big thing. He's dabbling in it really just to try it this year. So, if you've never watched his, have a look at that. I just love the fact that he's built his own log cabin, and it's a really high spec. It's not some, you know, run-down log affair. It's a beautiful building. It's aesthetically pleasing as well as, you know, sustaining him living on his piece of land. But he taught me something that I didn't know. Earthworms are not native to North America, certainly not Canada. I never knew that. That fascinates me. So, you know, I'm sure they've got microorganisms in the soil and all that, but they don't have earthworms. Amazing. And I think he should put raised beds in. That's the way to go for him. But he's trying to till the soil, and he seems to be doing all right. I mean, he's very good at what he does. But yeah, my self-reliance, I can recommend that. All you budding lumberjacks out there would absolutely love. My wife knows when I'm watching his channel, because all you can hear is the banging of hammers and nails. Not dissimilar to when I reconstructed my shed, which is very similar to Sean James' log cabin. That's almost whistling. That's going to go any second. You should never put that in when you're boiling water, boys and girls. Yep, we've got boiling water. Time for a brew. And I'll have a think if I've missed anybody. I should never have started this, because I feel guilty if I haven't mentioned a blindingly obvious one that I watch a lot of, but I don't think I have. And if anyone knows any others that you think I might find interesting, I find them all. Everybody's approach is different. So yeah, please let me know. One job I've been forgetting to do is the leaf mould. The leaf mould is in here. It's covered with a double. It's got this piece of stiff cardboard or whatever it is here, and then I've got a cover over it. But the leaf mould needs to be fairly moist or damp. It doesn't want to be waterlogged, and it doesn't want to be dry. So I haven't watered this or checked it for a couple of months now, so I thought I'd have a look at it and check that it's okay. And actually it's absolutely wonderful. It's really crumbly. In fact, it's pretty much damn perfect. I was going to water it. I think I still will water it and cover it back up. But that really is turning into some beautiful stuff, which I will then top dress on the beds. I mean, it won't go far, but it's better than nothing. And it'll go on in the autumn, and I'll let the worms do their thing. So I'm really pleased with that. I wasn't expecting that to be, I thought it was going to be bone dry and crunchy. Actually, it couldn't look better. Just proves or endorses the point I already know, that nature is always at its best when you leave it alone. That is lovely leaf mould. What of this life, if full of care, you have no time to stand and stare, no time to pause beneath the boughs and stare as long as sheep and cows. That's the only two verses I know, and I'm not sure I've got those right. But it occurs to me, and this is my thought for the day, that we've lost a lot of things in modern life, but one of the things, the most significant things we've lost, is the ability to just stop in our daily lives, sit, stand, whatever, and pause and look around you and take it in. And I mean for a long time, for minutes, if not hours, to just sit and observe and breathe it in. We were in the New Forest at the weekend walking, and it's a beautiful part of the country. And we were walking along and we were coming close to a car park, so there were people around. Not many, but there were some. And we came to a track crossroads, and there were 3 young girls, teenagers I guess, and they were all staring at their individual phones. And as we walked past them, a mother deer, a fallow deer, came up onto the track with its young calf by it. Is that what you call a baby deer? Calf? I don't know. A mother and its young. And they walked very slowly across the track. They looked at us, they saw us, and they saw the 3 girls. They paused, they saw there was no threat, and they carried on walking slowly, dropped down off the track and into the woods and were gone. And those 3 girls never looked up from their phones. They have no idea those deer were there. Now, what's the point of going to all the effort to be in the New Forest if you just stand and look at your phone? I think, you know, that sort of sums up for me modern life. And it's a real tragedy. You know, I mean, and if they saw them, they probably wouldn't be that impressed anyway, but they didn't see them, and they weren't looking. And that's a shame. I think it's really important, whatever point in your life, you know, and I do it up here, is to just sit, pause, and enjoy the moment. Like that. Well, that's not the whole onion harvest by any stretch, but I thought I'd start digging them up and getting them home and in the greenhouse, drying. And the remainder of the harvest is here on the table. This is what I'm taking home today. A fair old spread. This is what it's all about. All that hard work and not an insignificant amount of pleasure. But driving home with this lot in the van is without doubt the highlight of the allotment year. So very pleased with that. Had a good day. Going to sit down, have a last cup of tea and then make my way home. This is not the first harvest I've had from these tubs, but I think I'll take a few home. Difficult to find the biggest ones. Gotta love them, haven't you? Yeah, very happy with that. Add that to the pile. Well, that's me done for another day. Thanks for watching if you've made it to the end. Thanks for those that subscribe, I do appreciate it. And please feel free to leave any comments or click the like button if you think you can. And all being well, I'll see you again next week. So thanks a lot for now, and bye.